Welcome to the Mind Body Business Show. The 3 keys to your success is just moments away.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Mind Body Business Show. I am so glad you could make it. We have an amazing guest expert tonight. I cannot wait for you to meet him. He's got one of the most incredible business models I've ever seen that has crushed it as far as success. And those are the kind of people I love to have on my show, are those who have achieved a high level of success. And Mr. Brian Winch, I love his first name, is no exception. So Mind Body Business Show, what is that all about? Real quickly, what I found by focusing on and following successful people is that patterns started to develop that I noticed of these people that were crushing it, like Mr. Winch. And 3 of them were mindset is really what that means. And most successful people that I have run into have crushed it when it comes to developing a rock solid, powerful and positive mindset, and most often from the subconscious level. And then body, what is that? Well, it's exactly what it says. It's those that take care of themselves, that get outside and move, that feed themselves with nurturing food and liquid and nourishment, because the mind and body are a team. And I like to say, even more importantly, the mind and body are your team. So imagine if any one member of a team is not operating at peak level, then the team as a whole suffers. So it's important to have both mind and body operating at a top or peak level, I like to call it, of performance, hence the name of the company. And then there's business, another 3rd pattern of successful people. And business is multifaceted. It entails many skill sets like sales, team building, marketing, systematizing, leadership. It goes on and on. And what I found is successful people have mastered all 3 of these areas. Doesn't mean they've mastered every absolute single item in there themselves. It does not, because we are human beings and we only have so much bandwidth to go around. Those that are successful will delegate out those things that the skill sets just aren't in their repertoire, if that makes sense. Learn them if you can, but if it's just not for you, then delegate them out. And that's what I found that most successful people do. They follow or have those 3 patterns. I call them the 3 pillars to success. And that's what this show is about. And I bring on incredible guest experts like Brian Winch, who's coming on very soon, I promise. And we discuss and get deep into what makes these individuals so successful. And so I'm excited for you, the listener, the viewer. You get to be able to take notes, and all you have to do is model. That's it. All you have to do is model successful people like Brian Winch. All you have to do is take notes and then do what he does. And we're going to find out exactly what that is and how he has achieved his stellar success in just a moment. Speaking of success, one of the other traits of highly successful people is they are avid readers, and they love to read books, and really books that are on business and pertinent to advancing themselves either in business or in personal lives. And on that end, we're going to segue into a little section I appropriately call bookmarks.
Bookmarks. Born to read. Bookmarks. Ready, steady, read. Bookmarks. Brought to you by reachyourpeaklibrary.com.
Yes, reachyourpeaklibrary.com. And by the way, quick reminder for those of you watching and listening, whether you're live or recorded, resist the temptation to actually go and look into websites or any of the resources that either I or the other Brian give you during the show. Instead, take out a notepad and a piece of paper and a pen, or whatever your favorite method for taking notes is, and take notes. Write it down, so then you can stay with us throughout the entire show and just visit those resources after the show is over. Because here's the thing, the magic happens in the room. That's an old saying, and it truly is, it's truth. As long as you maybe think you're still paying attention while you're looking at another site, but you're not really fully engaged. And I would really not like for you to miss one nugget of information that Brian Winch is going to bring tonight. So please stay with us throughout. reachyourpeaklibrary.com. That is a website I literally assembled and put together for you, the entrepreneur, the business person, or the person that's wanting to be a successful entrepreneur. And these are books that I personally have read, every single one of them, and I vetted them, meaning they have actually had positive impact on me in one way or another, some more than others, some less than others, but all of these have had a positive impact on me in my growth in my entrepreneur journey. And if it didn't have it, it doesn't show up on this list. I've read quite a few more that are in this list that didn't make the grade. And so these are here for you. If you haven't started reading, here's a great list to start with, so you won't have to guess and say, well, at least I know one successful person who has read all these books. Just pick the first one that jumps out at you. Whatever looks great. You don't need to scroll through the whole list and then go back and forth and try to figure out paralysis by analysis. Grab one, read it, and get moving, and then read the next one, and then move to the next one. So it's a phenomenal resource, and I found that many, many successful people, that is one of the ways they got started, number one. And number two is a huge way that they continue to grow and build and scale their business by reading very pertinent books on the topic. Speaking of very successful people, it's that time. I am not going to mess around anymore. It's time to bring on the man, the myth, the legend himself. And let's do that right now, shall we? Yes, I say let's shall. Here we go.
It's time for the Guest Expert Spotlight. Savvy, skillful, professional, adept, trained, big league, qualified.
And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brian Winch. How are you doing, my friend? So great to have you on the show.
Not bad, Brian. It's great to be here. I like the way you spell your name. It's the right way.
Yeah, we were having a nice discussion about that right before we went live. And, you know, we get asked a lot. Both Brian and I each get asked, how do you spell your name? And he has an answer and I have an answer. And mine's a little bit more coy. I just spell it correctly. With an I. Anyway, let's get into this. Actually, before we get going and before I formally introduce you, Brian, I want to remind the viewers that are watching live that if you hang on to the very end of this show, you will get an opportunity to win a 5-night stay at a luxury resort in Mexico, and it's a 5-star luxury resort. Compliments of powertexting.com. Write that one down as well on your notes. Don't go to the website. Write it down. Powertexting.com, phenomenal resource. And we give one of these trips away every single show. So don't go anywhere. Stay on till the very end. Now let's bring on this gentleman to my left, to your right on the screen. Brian Winch is the author of Clean Lots, America's Simplest Business. Brian has been involved in all aspects of the parking lot litter removal business since 1981. Goodness, that's a year before I graduated high school. That is awesome. He can show you how to start and operate a green-based business from home and make money from a simple service that's almost as easy to do as going for a walk. Oh, that is so true. And we're going to get deeper into this business model. It truly is really simple. And it's very successful. And there's a great theme with this, is to keep your business as simple as you possibly can throughout each stage of your business. That is what Brian has done. And so, Brian, again, thank you for coming on. Love that you are spending your time with us, with our listeners. And it's a great little backstory to say, you know, you've got this business called Clean Lots, that you literally do it through litter removal in parking lots. And that's true. And what I like to do is dive a little deeper with each person that comes on the show, Brian, and that is to find out really what makes what makes it work up here in the mind to begin with. And so, you know, it takes a lot to keep a positive mindset, to keep going and sustain it on a regular basis. So for you, like when you start your day, and you know the day's coming, you're waking up and the sun's up and you're coming to and you're realizing, okay, another day, and you have that drive, you have that desire, you have that push. For you, how do you create a positive mindset, but more importantly, how do you maintain it throughout every single day since 1981?
Well, I plan my day. I think it's important that people plan their week, plan their days, have a business plan, if you will, and you always want to be moving forward. And if you break it down into little chunks and have a focus on what you want to get done any specific day or that week, then and when you accomplish those little small goals, then you have the feeling of accomplishment. And then that leaves you with that positive experience and feeling, and you're able to continue moving forward.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, we as humans, we love to complete things. There's nothing that gives us more gratification than finishing, right? And so that's great advice already right off the bat. I hope you're writing notes that are watching and listening. I literally am myself. I've already started writing notes. I do this every show. So you have no excuse if you're watching and listening and you're not writing notes. Get busy. Start writing. Because what he just said is it is already a golden nugget. And that is, break down your tasks into small chunks. And then with each one that you get to cross off, that's like a miniature victory. And it keeps you propelling, your I'm trying to think of the word, your momentum is going forward for the rest of the day as you knock out each smaller chunk. And of course, each smaller chunk adds up to the bigger chunk, which is the main goal of the day, to get knocked out. So great advice right off the bat. And I know that may sound simple to a lot of people. Guess what? That's the key. We started it that way, didn't we? The whole show. It's Brian Winch's Simple Business. Go ahead, Brian. I see you have something to say there.
Well, I don't want to take credit for it. It's a saying that probably has come from somebody else, but there's a saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And, and so I get a lot of people that contact me for support, and they ask me, well, I don't know where to start. But you have to have that plan. That's the reason for a plan. And so you kind of have everything mapped out. This is what I want to do today. This is what I want to accomplish by the end of the day or by the end of the week. So you have that feeling, and that's more than a feeling. You know that you're moving forward in your goals, and you're able to achieve.
Absolutely. Yeah. Love it. Love it. You have a very interesting and unique business model. The business itself is very unique. And I'm curious, something had to have taken you down a path to lead you to say, I think I'm going to do this. So what was that spark that was ignited in you to start this new business of doing what you're doing, which is basically picking up litter in parking lots outside of business complexes?
Well, I was 21 years old in 1981. I was working a full-time job, and I didn't mind it. I mean, I worked at a large sporting goods company, but after a while, I thought, I really couldn't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. Punching a time clock, going in the morning and punching out at night, and basically working for somebody else, making them money as opposed to really meeting my needs. And I was always one that wanted to work outside. I was kind of more of a physical type of guy, as opposed to working within four walls every day. And I thought, I'm going to start looking at different opportunities where I could work for myself. At the time, I didn't have a lot going for me. I didn't have a lot of money, many skills, and barely graduated high school. I didn't have a college degree, obviously. So I was kind of limited, but I looked at a number of different opportunities, and I thought the easiest might be starting some sort of service business, or maybe even a cleaning business. I mean, fortunes have been made cleaning up, doing cleaning for other people, simply for the reason that a lot of people don't want to clean up after others. And I had recalled that my father had a side gig back in those days, though it was called moonlighting or a part-time job, but he was cleaning up litter outside a nearby shopping plaza. And he had taken me along with him a couple of times. And I thought, wow, this is easy work. It's almost like getting paid for going for a walk. And I thought, what, maybe there's something to this. And I started to test the market for that. And lo and behold, after a little bit of marketing, I found there was a need for it. And that's how I got involved into the business, and I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, it's remarkable just how simple it is, and I don't want to make it sound like there's no work involved and it's that simple. I mean, there are other things that go on besides having to take a stroll in the parking lot. And as an entrepreneur, I get that. You know, the marketing, you mentioned it. We'll touch on that in a little while. There are other facets to businesses. It's simple doesn't necessarily mean it's always easy. But the thing is, the simpler you can make it, the better. Those of you that are either in a business now or thinking of starting one, the more you can simplify it, the easier it will be to achieve that level of success you desire, like Mr. Winch has done. And, you know, we talked about mindset, talked about body. You're obviously taking care of the body by walking every single day in your business, if you are still doing that yourself or if that's all been scaled out. But the beautiful thing is your entire crew is going to have that going for them. They're going to get the exercise, the fresh air, etc., and that's a great thing. But then there's the business, right? There's so many, like I said earlier, so many facets to it. There's so many skill sets that one needs to learn to, you know, take their business to continue to improve it and grow it. And if you were to be able to nail down just three top skills needed to be a successful entrepreneur, what would those three be now knowing what you know today?
Well, when I started, like I mentioned before, I didn't have really many skills. So what I brought to the table were really, I call traits. And I think if you, whatever business, whatever side hustle you're starting, you need to have passion, persistence, and patience. And I think that those are the main reasons for my success, is that's what I was able to bring. You can learn skills. You're always learning new skills. And you find different ways, whether it's reading books or taking courses. And back then, before the internet, and you know, I mean, it was a different time and a different day, and I would get more books. But nowadays, it's much easier. People can take online courses. The information is far more readily available, and you know, you can learn so many things, and you can also farm out the work. You know, you can't do everything, but it's good to have a basic understanding of different subjects in order to run your business.
And I love the three P's there, and they seem to go very well together. You know, passion. I mean, if you don't have passion for what you do, it's going to make your days very long, and it will not be something you'll be looking forward to every morning, getting up with that positive mindset and the drive. It will really be difficult to do that. So very important. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I love the second one. I think that's one of the biggest, is persistence. And that's one of the areas where so many people, I know personally, who give up too soon. It takes persistence, and it takes a thick skin. I think the third one, was it patience? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Patience, persistence.
Yeah, and those go hand in hand. I mean, you got to be patient in order to have persistence, and you need to have persistence, and that builds patience as well. And they're so absolutely necessary. And, you know, we live in a immediate gratification society where, you know, everything is instant now, right? You got instant coffee. You can almost instant, you know, get your phone out and you got a car coming to pick you up, right? I mean, everything's instant. And we get used to that, and we lose sight of the importance of persistence and hard work and time to make something that's really worth it to work. Would you agree with that?
Exactly, 100%. And people need to understand things don't always happen when you want them to. You know, I mean, if you're prospecting and you submit estimates, and it takes a while for people to get back to you. I mean, you have to understand they have issues to deal with. I mean, they have to get permission maybe, or approval. They have to check their budgets, whether there's money for the service, when they can bring you in, if they need to give a certain notice to another customer in order to bring you in. This takes some weeks, and it doesn't necessarily happen in the first week or 2 weeks where bang, you're gonna pick up a contract. And in some cases, you know, I've been doing this for so many years. It can take months, you know, from your initial contact, and somebody out of the blue contacts you and says, hey, Brian, I'm ready to initiate service at this property now. And, That's where the patience comes in. You need to be persistent, but you have to understand when to back off. You don't want to be a pain in the butt, but you need to make sure your prospects are aware that you're still interested in what you can do, what value you can bring to them, and at some point you'll be rewarded for that.
That is so spot on, Brian. I'm literally going through those phases at this very moment with 2 consulting gigs I'm working on. And it takes everything you just said, patience, persistence. It also, like you said, without being a pain in the rear, there is that art, I call that an art, is knowing when to let off the gas pedal, right? And not bug them to the point where they get so tired of hearing about you. It's like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Go away.
That's right.
And it just happened, and I'm in the process of doing one of those things. And yeah, it can, patience goes both ways. Both sides require the patience. So that requires sometimes a skill set on our end to better communicate and give them what I like to call the expectations. What are the expectations going in? And I like to know what their expectations are both ways. And that kind of cleans the slate, and you can go smoother. And still, there are times where I sense impatience on the other end. I'm like, I totally appreciate it. I know we want to get moving quickly. Here's the thing. I really need X, Y, and Z. I need that nailed down before I can properly address and do the best job I can for you, because it would be a disservice if I didn't do that first, kind of thing. One of those kind of conversations. So I love that you said it. Just brought up all this thoughts in my mind of what I'm going through at this very moment through this phase of these two companies I'm working with. So appreciate that very much. And I'm curious, I'm really curious, Brian. I remember I've done some research, I've read, and I think it was on videos, that you seem to target, like, what did I say earlier? It's like business parks, I guess, as one of your customer bases. But who do you target as a customer base for what you do? Like, who do you serve?
Well, we service commercial properties that are managed by real estate or property management companies. So it could be strip plazas, shopping plazas, small office buildings, industrial properties. Any of those actually are great markets. Even some standalone businesses like dollar stores or, Costco's, etc., Walmart's. Any commercial property with a parking lot is a good candidate for our service.
Yeah, I love that. And if it's like an entire like strip mall or something like that, you can probably get a bigger contract for one parking lot that's just around than all of these respective businesses. It seems like that would be an easier way to scale than going onesie twosie, but you can still serve those as well. And that sounds great.
Yeah, well, we don't serve the single businesses, if you will, in a shopping center. They're all tenants of a property, and they all pay into common area maintenance, whether it be landscaping, snow removal, and that includes litter pick as well. And that goes in their monthly rent, which they could pay to the property management company. So it's just easier. I mean, it's really easy, this business. You know who your customers are, property management companies, and you contact them and explain how you can your service will benefit them. And it's as simple as that, really.
I love that. And that does simplify it even more. Now you're dealing with one point of contact versus 10, 15, 20, however many are in that complex. That's the beauty of it, and additional simplicity of it. So the business itself is very simple, which I love. You go and you clean up litter. You pick it up. You don't have to touch it. I've seen the videos. You've got all the great tools for it. And then you only have to deal with one customer per property. I would imagine most often that makes it even simpler. So here's one thing that always arouses my curiosity, Brian, and that's with every one of the people I've interviewed, including yourself, successful entrepreneurs. There are so many different ways to market a business. I mean, it's just another multifaceted area within and under the business umbrella. And I'm always curious, and I ask a similar question of each who come on. For you particularly, what have you found over the years to be your like go-to, your number one, maybe two or three forms of marketing that have really helped you to grow your business and expand it the way you've wanted to?
Well, one thing that really hasn't changed over the decades is the cold calling.
Wow.
And so I just contact real estate management companies and ask who the contact person is, who deals with litter control or litter pick. And once I find that person, I contact them and ask them, I'd like to send them some information about how my service can benefit them, and they can save money and get cleaner properties. And it all starts from there, and the whole conversation starts from there. They might want to get a quote right there, or they might just want further information. But you need to build that little bit of a relationship there, and some trust. And at some point, you are rewarded with getting a contract, and it just evolves from there. You provide good customer service. You provide more than what you say you will do. Again, it's providing value, and it helps cement that business relationship. And they're more likely to want to continue to do business with you as opposed to looking for a cheaper bid or doing business with somebody else just because they get a better price or whatever. But it's all about building relationships, and we've had a lot of customers for 20 or 30 years.
Mm. Yeah, and I'm curious, when you first started out and you just started making your first 10 phone calls, I'm sure you had it dialed in and you knew exactly what to say and you were successful on every call, right?
I wish.
So,
like I said, when I started, it was all trial and error. I mean, I was learning from the school of hard knocks, what to say, what I shouldn't say, and but it was maybe my fourth or fifth phone call. I mean, I don't recall spending an eternity on the phone and always striking out, but at some point, it's like anything. It's percentages. You're playing the percentages. But maybe after 3 or 4 or 5 phone calls, maybe it's luck, but luck happens. You make your luck, and at one point, a person said, "You know what? It's just funny you contacted me because I was just thinking I'm having a tough time finding somebody reliable, dependable, who will show up and clean up the litter outside my 3 strip plazas. And it's just fortunate you happened to phone me. And hey, you know what? Here are 3 addresses. Go out, take a look at them, get back to me with some prices." And that's how I got my start. I mean, I got my first 3 properties with that one prospect, and it all built from there. And the business continued to evolve from there. I mean, I had to learn, what tools work best, the best time of day to service these properties, but that's how I got my start.
Yeah, and of course I said that in joke, and I see you got the joke. That was good, because a lot of people, and I did that on purpose because many think that we keep saying how simple the business model is, but it took time to perfect your systems, to perfect what you would say, and it's still probably to this day it's never perfect because we're dealing with other people. It's human beings.
Yeah, and you know what? You learn how to develop an elevator pitch. That's what it's called these days. And it's briefly who you are and what you can do, what value, what how your product or service is going to benefit your prospect. And that's what you do. But it's you learn these things from doing.
Oh, there it is. That was it. That was right between the eyes. That was the most powerful thing you just said, is you learn these things by doing it. That's it.
Yeah.
Learn by doing. And that, boy, does that cover so many emotions with people. Well, but Brian, if I do that, I might fail. Yeah. In fact, you want to fail, don't you? You want to fail multiple times and a lot up front so that you get to the one that works quicker. And so, you got to get over that, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know if you've heard this quote from Richard Branson, but he says, if you don't know how to do something, don't say no to an opportunity. Say yes, then learn how to do it.
Yes. Perfect. Yeah, and that's kind of like the credo of an entrepreneur, isn't it? It's like, just say yes. Continually say yes. Of course, you're not always going to have the answer. There's going to be trepidation. You're going to be afraid of failure. Every one of us is human. We all go through this. No matter how successful we are, we just know how to be flexible, react to it. And the thing is, when we start feeling that way, Brian, it's like when you start feeling that little trepidation, but you know that if you do it, you're going to move forward, that's when it's the most powerful decision of yes that you could possibly come up with. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Completely. And like what you were saying, too, I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're going to run into these brick walls and stone walls. And I guess what differentiates an entrepreneur from a normal person, if you will, is a lot of times the normal person will say, well, you know what, it's a dead-end street. That's it. I quit. It doesn't work. But as an entrepreneur, you need to learn, okay, well, that didn't work, but you know what? That's not the end of the deal. That's not the end of the story. I need to find a different way to make things work. And it's like a fork in the road. I mean, you have to find solutions to problems rather than just give up and say it doesn't work.
Thank you for that. That is extremely good advice to everyone listening. And that's where the persistence comes in, of the 3 Ps. Must be persistent. And I don't know, I've gotten to be, I almost feed off of it now. When something doesn't work right away, it's like, okay, good. Now I get to try something new. Let's see how else it's going to work. Good. I'm curious. What is going to actually work? This is awesome. I love the process more than I ever had. In the beginning, I was like, this sucks. I can't get it right. But when you take a different tact and a different mindset toward it, you're like, this is actually fun. I love the struggle. And the only way you can know that you love the struggle is if you've ever had a victory, because you know what it feels like when you finally reach the promised land, and that makes the struggle that much more enjoyable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And you just look at it after a while, after you've been in business for a while, that was a lesson learned. Okay, that didn't work. That's not the end of the day. So you just go back and you find a way to make things work.
Yeah, and I really also especially loved how you said one of the most important parts, your successful form of marketing is by way of building a relationship, which seems to be something that is not too often executed anymore. I hear it talked about a lot, and it's doing it with integrity and character. Like I was just looking right before we got on this show, and Brian knows this because I said it. I said, I got a message from somebody on Facebook, and I didn't even know who that person was, and it was already asking me to get on the phone with them. I'm like, I don't even know who you are. That's not the right way to introduce yourself. There's better ways, and that's that's skills around building relationships. So it takes time, and it takes trial and error. In that case, that was an error, and I'm not going to spend much more time looking at that, and I won't look at it again. And if that person is persistent and continues to message me, but with a relationship motive, more than just let's talk on the phone. I just want to suck you of your time and talk about something. I don't even know what it's about. Pre-frame it. Let us know why you want to reach out. Give us a reason to say yes, versus just say, hey. How many of those do I get? I don't know if you're on social media much, Brian, but I get these that just come out of nowhere and say, how are you doing? I'm like, I don't know who you are. How did you even find me? And why would I even respond to that? Because this is going to go down a rabbit hole real quick. So it's interesting. So there's a skill toward all that to say, building relationships. And another part I love that you said, Brian, which also I see it in other entrepreneurs and business owners is, they want to over-deliver because, if you promise something and you give even more than you promised, like you said, you've had businesses for over 20 years, clients, that's why, because you over-deliver. You gave them what they needed plus some.
Well, when you communicate with them, you build that relationship up. It's not just a business relationship. After a while, it's more of a personal relationship. And they know that you care about their property because you're informing them. I'll back up a bit. Anybody can clean. Anybody can clean up litter from a parking lot. But if you go one step further and observe certain things when you're at the property, maybe somebody has tagged the wall with graffiti or dumped a sofa at the back of the building or run over a stop sign or some lights are burnt out. It doesn't take much effort to contact your customer and let them know about this stuff. They appreciate hearing that from you. You're an extra set of eyes for them. And like I said, it helps cement that relationship with that client. And after all, I mean, your best source of additional business is more likely to come from your existing clients than it is from a new one. That's not to say that he shouldn't, develop as many clients as you can, but it just makes more sense to keep your existing customers happy, because you'll know at the end of the day, over a number of years, they're going to send more and more business your way, and it doesn't take that much more effort from you other than staying in contact with them.
Wow, that rung true big time. I used to be involved in network marketing a long time ago. I actually used to co-own a network marketing company myself. And I recall those that were like the big mega recruiters, the ones making the big bucks within the organization. All too often, they reached that status because they did not take care of those who they recruited. They just went to the next new client, i.e. another recruit. And I saw it time and again that their foundation, their organization would crumble over time because they kept going to that person for assistance to help them to crush it like he was or she. And then it's like, well, I don't have time. I need to go recruit more people. I was like, wait, spend the time with the people that are your customers now. That's where you're saying, Brian, is concentrate on those you currently have versus, and it doesn't mean neglect looking for new business, like you already said as well, Brian, but it's the concentration of your time, your prioritization should be on your existing customer base. And we're talking to a gentleman who knows from experience, who's teaching us after 20-some years of several clients who have stuck with him because of that very reason. And I'm sure those 20-year clients are referring people left and right during that 20-year time span as well, because he has exceeded their expectations.
That's right. I mean, we'll get phone calls from somebody who was asking for a quote, and either they will tell us or we'll ask them, well, who referred you? And that's exactly what it is, referral. And so that's key to any business, is getting referrals, and it all comes from customer service. And it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't take a lot of effort to do that, but it's amazing to me how many businesses don't do it. And maybe it's their employees, their workers, they have the attitude that, you know what, I'm just here to clean. That's not my job. I'm not going to do it. But, like I say, it's something that's very simple to me to understand, and that's a key to anyone's success, whatever business they're in.
You just hit another phenomenal point, Brian. It's so funny saying my name all the time, but it's a great point was the importance of referrals. Thank you. That's like one of the biggest marketing I shouldn't say it's misunderstood. It's underutilized. Let me put it that way. Of most people I met. In fact, I've actually spoken with business owners and asked them, like, if you have an affiliate program, that's a referral type of a machine that you can use for specifically if you're online, or it doesn't have to be online, a referral business, affiliate, referral, same thing. And oftentimes they'll say, well, Brian, I'm working on getting new customers. And I was like, exactly. So I have a resource for you. I can help you set up an affiliate program. No, I don't have time for that. I'm working on, wait, can we talk about this again? These are existing customers. There's more. So here's the thing. I'm talking to you, Brian, right now. If you were to come out here on this show and you were by yourself, a talking head, and saying, my name is Brian Winch, I have clean lots. This is my business, and I help clean parking lots, and this is what I do, and you should hire me. Is it more powerful for people to hear from that, or is it more powerful from someone else, i.e. an interviewer or someone asking questions saying, you should hire this guy, and let me tell you why? Which one is more powerful? It's obviously secondhand. It's one, degree removed. And that's why it's so powerful. It's like, my gosh, people, I want to just knock on their heads, come on, wake up, get going with an affiliate program, get some kind of referral-based program working, because you already have a client base. Use that to your benefit. Give them a little reward maybe for referring people, and your company will explode. Go ahead.
Well, that exactly, and especially nowadays with social media. And a lot of people, before they even bother checking out a new restaurant, will go see the restaurant reviews.
Yes.
Are they good? As opposed to going there for themselves and being maybe the guinea pig and just trying it out. A lot of people will check those online reviews now, and that applies to a lot of businesses, but I guess maybe especially restaurants and everything. So that's why it's important to provide that customer service and do the best job you can with whatever product or service that you're advertising, because you need those people to provide the referrals and be satisfied customers.
Another perfect example right there. I mean, have good social proof out there. Make sure you're over delivering so that you're getting those 5-star ratings, regardless of what kind of business you have. Get listed on Yelp. Get listed on all of the online avenues where people go to look for you, because that's spot on. Restaurants is one of the greatest examples, because every time I travel, I'll look up restaurants near me, and as I'm scrolling, I'm looking at the ratings. Well, I don't want that one. That's only 2 out of 5. Or if they have those dollar signs and it's like 10 of them across the screen instead of 1 or 2, and I wanted to get a quick lunch instead of a beautiful, luxurious meal. But those help. And how you show up in your business and how you treat your customers, and how you go about it. Like, I can't imagine, Brian, how many times you were in a parking lot and you felt that no one was watching, and you could take a shortcut if you wanted because no one's seeing it. It's like, that piece of paper, if I left it there, they wouldn't even know, right? They wouldn't know. They're not tracking every piece of paper.
Believe me, they'll know. It's amazing how many properties have video surveillance. The building operators are out checking the properties. Then you've got the storekeepers that are paying for these services. If they feel that the same coffee cup has been sitting in front of their parking stall for 2 or 3 days, you'll hear about it. But going back to social media, it's amazing to me how many businesses will go to the expense and time developing a website, but they can't be bothered to do what some of the free things are, and that's claiming your free Google My Business listing. And I mentioned Google because it's the biggest search engine, but any of the other search engines have very similar deals or listings. But if it doesn't matter what business that you're providing, if you claim your free Google My Business listing, you're going to show up in the search engine. If your prospects are looking for a service or product that you're selling, you're going to show up, and it doesn't cost you anything. But like I said, it's amazing to me how many businesses don't claim it for whatever reason.
And that's a valuable free tip right there for many people. And literally go to Google and type in Google My Business Listing, and you'll be able to do what he just said and actually enter your information. And that's fantastic because, like you said, it costs nothing. Same with like Yelp. It doesn't cost a thing. Go enter your information. Yelp is highly used. I see colleagues of mine using it, and then I started using it because I'm like, what's that? Oh, hey, that's a good way to find out if a restaurant's good, if a business is good. That's fantastic. So we all know that it's, being an entrepreneur is like probably the easiest thing on earth, right? So yes, I'm seeing that again, tongue in cheek, and your reaction is perfect. But knowing that, and now where you are today with the level of success you've had, let's take it on the positive spin side. What would you say has been your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur?
I think the freedom. I wouldn't say freedom from bosses because if you're an entrepreneur, your boss are your customers, your clients. But it's just the freedom of being able to work your own hours as much as you can, and not necessarily working the 9 to 5 routine. You've got more flexibility, and I just enjoy the freedom of working for myself.
Yeah, when the rubber meets the road, you're answering to yourself. And I love that you're the second one I've heard say this on my show about, you're not actually removing a boss, you're gaining many. For those of you that are looking to separate from having a boss, maybe entrepreneurship isn't quite the road you wanted to take. But all that being said, though, when it comes down to making a decision about your business moving forward, you're not going to the client and say, hey, what do you think? Should I invest in this? Or, hey, do you think I should use this marketing platform? You get to make the decisions. You call the shots. You get to get up when you think you should get up. You get to go to bed when it's all about choice. And you said the word freedom. I use the word liberation. Very similar.
And it's easier to get rid of one bad boss than it is the only one if you're working for somebody.
There you go. Yeah, exactly, right? You know, in our lives, I mean, I've had lots of people that that have stuck out to me, that have given me, I don't know, bits of inspiration that help me to motivate myself moving forward. Some that I've met and worked with personally. I have a mentor who I was telling you about before the show, Brian, that I learned a lot from, and I still to this day model a lot of what I learned from him. Some have get inspiration from authors that may no longer be with us. I'm just curious, and so it can go all over. It could be family, it could be genealogical up into grandparents and above. For you, if you were to choose one person when it comes to your business and how you've gone about it and the success you've achieved as a result, is there one person that comes to mind that you would call or claim to be your greatest inspiration?
Well, it would have to be more than one. It would be my parents. Because, I grew up in a family of working poor, blue collar. Neither of my parents graduated high school. They had blue collar jobs. My dad was a janitor, and he always had to do these jobs on the side, part-time employment, whether it was cleaning up litter from a parking lot or shoveling snow outside a church or whatever the case is. And neither of my parents, I never ever heard them complain. They just did what they had to do, and it instilled a great work ethic with me. And I think that they were my greatest source of inspiration, and provided the best examples to me as to what you needed to do to get things done.
And it's interesting. That's the second reference now you've made to someone not going to college, at least, and that was yourself and then your parents as well. And here's an interesting pattern I've also seen, Brian, and that is most who have not gone through the full typical 4-year college path or didn't complete it. The mentor I speak of, he dropped out after or during his freshman year and never went back. And what I found is the people that haven't gone through colleges tend to be way more resourceful and get the job done, and don't let all of the things that they have been indoctrinated with hold them back. We get these. I went through college and I struggled a long time before I decided it's time to let go of all these preconceived rules that I should be following, because the rules weren't serving me. And if I broke the rules, I'm not hurting anyone. We're not talking about laws or anything like that. It's just things you're told and the ways you're told to go about it. It's all preparing you for corporate life. That's what college typically does. And so it's all rule and regiment based. And then I got out and I'm like, it really stunted my growth as an entrepreneur. And I noticed those that didn't go to school were kicking butt right out of the chute. And I'm like, what is up with that? And I noticed that. And over time I observed the resourcefulness and just the freedom about which they would go about, their day and figuring out solutions to problems like you were talking about. Just amazed me. And I literally, Brian, I became jealous of those who did not go to college. Can you believe that? That's pretty awesome, right? I mean, I was like, I wish I had gone to school now. I'm like, oh, man, I learned too much.
Well, it is now, especially these days, where, that discussion, so with the cost of getting an education. And do you want to go to school for 4 years and then graduate with that much student debt? And so if you're a member of a number of different communities, Side Hustle Nation or whatever, people looking at self-employment opportunities, they have to say, well, what am I better off investing in, myself and a business or an education which guarantees nothing?
It guarantees debt, and it guarantees right. And in my case, holding me back from really crushing it right away. Absolutely. And the interesting thing on that note, I don't want to beat it to death, but it's a great point, is that so I bring on and hire apprentices for my business. I have 4 now. I'm bringing on a 5th very soon, and it's a long story behind it. But what I found is most of the apprentices I'm bringing on are looking for experience in the marketing realm, in the marketing area, which is that's the lifeblood of any business. I think this is awesome. I want marketers that want to learn. And the interesting thing is most of them are graduates of college, some recent, some not so recent. And I always ask them, what are you looking to get out of this and why? Why are you coming on as an apprentice? And they say, well, I need to learn, I need to get experience. I said, how come? Well, I got my degree and then I went out looking for a job and I keep getting turned down. I said, why is that? They said, they all want you to have experience. I said, wait, what? Why did we go to school? What did they buy us? In that case, almost zero at that moment. And now they have to take that extra step. I didn't have to do that back in the day. I got straight into it. My resume or my degree was my meal ticket. I did interviews. The first interview I took, I got accepted. I got a high paying job right out of school. I was in. It's not that way anymore. And schools aren't preparing our kids as well as they're getting better. I will give them kudos. My son is literally going through his last year right now, and they are mandating he actually go through an intern program for a semester. I was like, thank you. That's where he will get the experience he needs if he wants to work for someone else. But it is a missing component in many schools still to this day. And they're always a little bit behind, I've noticed. She's my second child that's just gone through, and first one, same kind of thing. You come, you get a degree, you never end up working in your degree, your field that you've studied. It's just, why go through that pain and suffering and money when if you just come out and be resourceful and crush it with the proper training, on the job training, like from someone like you, Brian, then schooling, I have a whole different view of school that I used to when I came through it, for sure.
Yeah, well, they're getting better, especially like you say, the work internship. But the problem with technology and in marketing, it changes so fast. You just wonder what you're studying in school, how out of date the material is. So you have to get out into the real world to begin your learning.
So true, and I love that whole concept of internship because there's no better training than on-the-job training. And I get it. There are certain fields that take high tech, take high smarts. Like where if you're going to go into a engineering field and you're going to put rockets out into space, well, you probably need to be pretty good at math, right? And you need that. And schools are great for that. I'm not trying to bash them 100%. I'm just saying when it comes to those who are looking to start their own business, it's a tough road to hoe if that's what you're looking to do, is to go through college to make that happen for you. It's like, I don't know if I'd choose that vehicle if that's what your goal is. So, yeah.
Well, you're right. I mean, we need our doctors, lawyers, engineers.
Right.
You're not going to learn that on the side. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, I think the best way or the best school is the School of Hard Knocks, and it's from doing. And it's always good to have a background. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, true.
In theory, but you're really going to learn the most. You're going to get educated most from actually doing things.
Absolutely. And working with mentors, coaches that have been there, done that are successful, like you. That someone says, hey, I want Brian Winch to be my mentor. It's like, yeah, it's probably a good one. I would do that if he's open to doing that and helping you out. For sure. I mean, that's where I've learned the most in my entrepreneur walk is with mentors and coaches. I paid for coaches. I hired them. I hire people or I get mentors who I see have the results that I desire. I'm not just going after, you could be around the water cooler at work and someone's telling you about the hot stock, and then I look at them and going, well, but you're still working. Why is that such a hot stock, right? It's like, how'd that help you? You're still here. I'm not going to follow your advice. You want to follow the advice of those who have the results that you wish to achieve. And so when you get a mentor, learn it, achieve the results they have, now raise the bar and get yet another one. Continually get coaches and mentors to climb the ladder in the way that you want to go. And I learned all this primarily through this one mentor I keep talking about. He's been he's younger than me by a lot, but wise beyond his years. Just amazing guy. And I love him like a brother. All right, so I think, this would be a good time. My God, Brian, we're already 5 minutes out from the end of the show. That is unbelievable. I do want to give you the opportunity, though, to ask yourself a question. In other words, if you were conducting this interview, what question might you ask yourself. I mean, this is dangerous for a host to give up control of their show. I hope you know that, but I'm just having fun. But if you were conducting this interview, what question would you ask yourself, number one? And then number two, how would you answer that question?
Okay, well, what type of personality are you? Are you an introvert or an extrovert? And the reason I ask that question, I think a lot of people think that if you're going to be in business or a successful businessman, that you're an extrovert. And I can tell you, I'm an introvert. I've always been an introverted person. But having said that, I don't find it difficult to deal with people or to do the cold calling, to do the sales, because I believe in my service. And I think anybody, salesmen are not born. I think they're made. And if you believe in your product or service and the benefit it provides, it's easy to me to just spread the message. I think that some people are surprised when they learn that I would consider myself an introvert.
I love that, because what you just did right there, Brian, you gave a lot of people hope that, that consider themselves also to be introverts. Like, I'm an introvert. How can I be good at sales? Well, you're looking at one on the screen next to me that just said himself that he's an introvert. Yet there was the key right there, that you believed in what you were doing. You believed in the end product. You believed in your service. You believed in yourself, in what you were providing them. You knew it was high integrity, high value. You were going to over deliver. And, it comes down to the point where you take the mindset, and I don't know if this is true of you, Brian, probably is, but it would actually be a disservice if you did not reach out and talk to them, because the service they're getting now is probably subpar. And so if you take it and work it that way and realize that you are that important, I mean, you have that kind of value, not that you're like this ego important person, but you're important to them based on what you bring, then it could change how you approach your introvertedness towards sales.
That's right. I mean, if you believe in your product or service, you're going to share how it will benefit. It will make people's lives better. And it's not about your ego. Everyone has the idea or the image of the greasy car salesman or whatever. And, I think most of those, they don't exist anymore. Or they're out of business, but people don't want that experience. People want to deal with somebody on a personal one-to-one basis. They don't want the crap. They just want to know, okay, how is this going to work for me? How can this make my life easier, better? How can it, whatever the case is, and that's all you have to do, I think.
Excellent. Oh, such words of wisdom from a very successful individual. There's one more question, Brian, before we close the show, and also don't worry. I haven't forgotten what I promised earlier in the show as well. And in addition, I want to give folks a way to reach out and touch you, Brian, get in contact with you, because you have some great things to offer. We'll get to that in just a moment, I promise. But there's one more question I do want to ask you, and that is something that I ask every single guest expert that's been on this show. It's a deep question. It's a really cool question, and I'm really intrigued by the depth and breadth of answers I've gotten as a result. But before we jump into that, this is where I want to then, let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, and let everyone know how they can win that 5-star or that 5-night stay at the 5-star luxury resort in Mexico. And I'm going to bring that up on the screen right now. And to do so, now you have our permission to look away from the screen for just a moment if you need to grab your phone. And you want to type in this phone number into your phone. You can go ahead and look at the screen as you're doing that. And that is 661-535-1624. And then down in the message area, type in the word PEAK, P-E-A-K, as if you were going to text somebody that. And then press on the little send icon. And you will instantly be entered to win that wonderful 5-night vacation stay. And just so you know, I guarantee you this is not a hook or lure to get you to sit for a 2-hour timeshare pitch. It is not that way at all. And I know that because my good buddy at powertexting.com, the sponsor of this very trip, he tested it by taking his daughter, and he said it was the most amazing trip he's been on. Rocky Point, Mexico, he went to. So again, 661-535-1624, and enter the word peak as you're going to text it, P-E-A-K. Hit the send icon, and you will be entered, and you will be announced if you're the winner. We will shout from the rooftops on Facebook and everywhere who won that wonderful vacation. So go ahead and do that now. And now we're going to get back to the man of the hour, Mr. Brian Winch. And so getting back to that question real quick, and then we'll get into how people can get in touch with you. I definitely want you to be able to talk about your book. I'm really intrigued by that. But before we do that, I just want to say, I've kind of built up this question, and there's no any need to be nervous. You don't look nervous at all, so that's already there. But the cool thing about this question is, Brian, there is no such thing as a wrong answer. It's impossible to answer it incorrectly, because the very converse is the truth, is the only correct answer is yours, because it's unique to every individual. It truly is. And so when asked the question in just a moment, if it takes a moment for you to think about the answer, that's cool. Don't worry about it. Relax. Dead air time is okay. If you get it right away, you'll get it right away. I've seen it run, the spectrum of beginning to end. And so I just want to throw that out there so you can just kind of relax and know that, okay, whatever answer is the right answer. It's just unique to you. Does that sound cool?
Yep.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Brian Winch, how do you define success?
I guess the freedom to live my life the way I choose. That's a simple answer, right off the top of my head.
Awesome. And I paused on purpose because sometimes others would expand on it, and that I could tell you were there. You're done. Freedom to live the life he chooses. And it's similar but never the same. No two people have answered this exactly the same. And it's been interesting getting this wide variety of answers to this. And here's the other really interesting thing I found, Brian, is not a single one of the answers I've gotten so far, there have been 55, 56 of them so far, not a single one of them was money-centric.
Yeah, and you know what? That's what I was going to add. The reason I got into business wasn't monetary. It wasn't to make $1 million. It was to live the life I wanted to. Like at the beginning of the show, I didn't want to work within four walls. I wanted to work outside. I wanted to see the results of my work, et cetera, et cetera. None of that was monetary. And I think, if you're good at what you do, the money will follow. So that's why I answered the way I did, is it was just the freedom to live, the life I wanted to live.
Yeah, it's perfect. And so to close out the show, right before we say so long to everybody, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about how people can get a hold of you, number one. And also, if you wouldn't mind, because you have a book that you've written that I would like for you to be able to share. And if there's anything else you'd like to share as well, this would be a great time to do it. And I'll pull that up on the website so you can talk to it and let people know that, even though the book comes at a price, what they're getting in return and as a result of getting that book. So go ahead and take that away.
Okay, well, Clean Lots is a book written from my 35 plus years experience in how to start and operate a simple parking lot litter removal business. It comes with my free support. Anyone who buys my book, I provide free support, and I can do that because it is such a simple business to start and operate. I understand some people might need some clarification. They have a few questions, but typically they get on pretty quickly, and I'm always glad to share my experience with other people. People can't compete with me in my city, but there's no reason why I can't share this opportunity with other people throughout the country and in every other city, if you will.
Yeah, and that's important, what he just said, free support. And the reason that's so powerful is because oftentimes with businesses, not with Brian's, but with many businesses, support can be one of the biggest things you need to finance of anything you do in your business. It means you have to put support personnel in place, and they pay them specifically to handle support calls. And so the value here is extreme. Even though it's simple and Brian can handle it, it's still take away a lot of value as a result. Because look, you get the book, he's going to tell you step by step how you can do the same thing, and he will also answer your questions, because you will have questions, there's no doubt. And that's just extremely valuable. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And just as a reminder to everyone, that is the URL is cleanlots.com, like parking lots, cleanlots.com. Go to that website, buy his book. I'm sure you're going to learn more than just how to develop and start a litter removal business. You could probably tell by listening to him tonight that he's full of value and wisdom that can help you also in any kind of related business that's very close to it. But be sure to, approach him with integrity. And when you do and you ask for support, make sure it is in alignment with what's in the book and a litter removal business. But establish that relationship with him. As you know, he just said earlier how important that is. And that's your way to start and practice. He's offered it. It's open. It'll cost you the price of a book. That's it. And then you can be on your way. Who knows? Maybe Brian will be your next mentor if he's open for that. And that would be valuable, because of everything he's achieved and how he's done it. So with that, Brian, I wanted to thank you once again very, very much for spending this time with us. I forgot to mention at the top of the show, he's coming to us all the way from Canada, way up north. And I'm in Southern California, so we're quite a distance apart. I love being able to get to do what I do. For that reason, meet phenomenal people as yourself. And I also want to thank everyone who's been watching and listening, those who are watching and listening live, and those who also watch the live show or the recorded video show, and who listen to the podcast afterward, because it will also be on podcast. But for now, Brian, do you have any parting words for our audience?
Well, I guess if you work the business will work for you. Something that simple.
Beautiful. How appropriate. Ends with a simple statement for a simple business, very successful business. Brian Winch, thank you once again so very much. I appreciate you. And for everyone watching and listening, I appreciate you as well. That's it for now. We'll see you at the next edition of the Mind Body Business Show. So long and be blessed.
Thank you for watching and listening. This has been the Mind Body Business Show with Brian Kelly.